Thank you so much for that response, Mimi and Nifemi. Thank you so much. Glory, I believe you've gotten um, a strategic response for that question. The brands need to also find balance, like Nifemi has mentioned. Okay, there's somebody who was raising their hand. So I don't know if the person has like a question, but then you can drop your question on the chat session. When it's time for Q&A, maybe you can raise your hand to like ask your question. So yeah, the question, we don't have too much time again, but then there are so many tools out there, both paid and free tools, right? So yeah, what are the tools or platforms you will recommend for brands? And also, are there some of them that you've used and you think brands should start using them? And also, for brands with limited budget, are there some simple ways they can practice social listening for their brands? Nifemi is already nodding. So
No, I'm
let's
not nodding. I actually want Mimi to answer because the reason why I want Mimi to answer is because I work in this space, so I would give a lot of brands. But like Mimi is like uh, on the brand side, so she'd probably it would be interesting to see what the brand side does, basically.
Okay. So on my side, I don't have experience with multiple solutions. At companies I've worked in, we've used things like Brandwatch. I'm aware of Sprout Social, not used as much. And then there's also Google Alerts, which is like the very simple one, only for SMEs, is a very good tool that you can use. Brandwatch, like I said, is what I've used the most often. And it's just because it helps you to track, conversations, it helps you to track trends. I'll give an example, right? We're planning an innovation for a particular brand I was working on. And then so the idea was, okay, wanted to expand the product range. So what variants should we go into? So for the brand, ingredients were important. So what are the ingredients that are trending? So then we use Brandwatch to just check, conversations, basically to listen into conversations online about the category. So what are people saying? What ingredients are they talking about? And not just what are they saying or what are they talking about? What do they connote the benefits? What the ingredients that they talk about, what benefits do they associate with the ingredients, so that we can help us, to really plan and pick these insights, right, on our own, just from social listening. As an example of a platform that I've used, and like there are many, many other platforms, just depends on what your budget can, contain. But a very simple one, like we said, for brands with limited budgets, is just to, on your own, just do some, like, tap into some conversations. So there are many platforms that you can look at. I mean, there's X, TikTok, there's X, Twitter/X, there's Instagram, there's TikTok. TikTok comment section is a very, very, very good place to start. So go to the relevant people that make relevant content about your brand. For example, if I'm a baker, or let's say I have a cake business and I'm trying to sell, and I want to, or let's say I have products, or I sell butter or sugar, right? That is for bakers use. I go to the comment section of someone who bakes online and shares their recipes, and I read what people are saying. Somebody's commenting on the butter that they use and say that, oh, they like this butter because it has a lower fat percentage, or it has a higher fat percentage. Or somebody else comments and says, oh, this sugar is actually less than a gram when I measured, something of those sorts. Those are ways that I, on my own, as a small business owner, I'm able to see what people are saying and what people are talking about. There's also Google Alerts. I think we know how to use that. Like, what are the things that people are searching for? What are they searching for about, the space or the category that I'm in? So there are basically many ways to do these things. We can do it on our own. If you take yourself as a brand, if I want to Google Mimi Edupolo right now, what is going to come up? What are people going to say about me? If I search myself on X, if I search myself on TikTok, right? If I read comments about lady in Lagos, that gives you an idea of, okay, this is what people are saying about a woman, or a woman who lives in Lagos. And then how can I associate that with myself, Mimi, if that makes sense. So it's not a very, it can be, we can make it a bit more structured and a bit more difficult in terms of going through the platforms, very possible, but you can also make it very simple. Give yourself an hour a day or an hour once a week and say, okay, let me just on my own set my brand up. What are people saying? Let me set a category. What are people saying? The baker example, what are they saying about cakes? What are they saying about flavors? What's coming up? What's trending? And then how can I take from their insights that can help my brand or a campaign that I'm planning to run on my brand?
Okay, thank you so much, Mimi. Thank you so much for that. We are running out of time already. So, I have, let me say, second to the last question so that we can wrap up real quick, right? The question is this, right? What role does social listening play in managing brand reputation, and handling PR crisis? What role does social listening play in managing brand reputation and handling PR crisis?
Well, I've asked me to answer a lot of questions, so I'll just answer this. I think so. Okay, let me say it this way. Part of one of the most important thing that you see social listening do is to help you to become proactive as a brand, to kind of just know what is happening in my industry, within my competitors, and myself. And the role that it plays, firstly, that it helps you to know in time. So with the different tools, and as simple as Google Alerts, as Mimi had mentioned, Google Alerts might not be as exhaustive because it's not query specific, but as simple as Google Alerts, for example, you can set up alerts on your Google about your brands and the different taglines that you want. And when something is said about that brand, you will receive an alert on your phone that you can read, and you know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing and how to respond. But before that, I think that it's back to the question before the one Mimi answered about every brand should be able to have built out a plan on how they want to respond and how they want to show up online. Because if you are waiting till you have a problem to address the problem, that problem will have finished spreading before you know. And so, first thing, in all essence, is to, and as a small business, as a big brand, or as an account manager, the first thing you're asking yourself is, in the event that people come and say that my brand, I found cockroach inside, what would you do? Like, you think it's impossible. Trust me, people will find things inside your brand. They will tell you that they bought expired products in the supermarket and they saw your brand ambassador stocking is there themselves. And you can't fight those things because it is what would happen. And so you kind of already have to have a plan to solve that problem. The next thing is you have to listen aggressively. So if you have budget and you have the money to spend, I'd advise you to get tools that can help you set up alerts for negative mention and for positive mention. Now, again, to be on the safe side, what you kind of realize is that the tools that are currently not Nigerian African, they don't speak the language that we speak. So someone can say, this LinkedIn mad gone. That's a positive mention. But the tool would say it's a negative mention. So that's where the human being comes into it to sort of filter through that. And when you receive those alerts, you kind of already have like a system. And then what you can begin to do is, okay, if it's just a one occurrence, you don't have to respond to everything. People are looking for every brand to come and give them money. So if it's just one occurrence and it doesn't go after that, the person will be okay. But if it's something that someone has said, next person has said, 24 hours, you pick it up, you then have to address that as quick as possible, such that you know that this is what should be done in that direction as well. So yes, that's how I would answer that.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Nifemi. So I have a final question. Then I think we'll take questions from audience, right? The final question is this: what's one piece of advice you would give to a marketer or a brand manager who want to start social listening today? What's one piece of advice you would give somebody that wants to start social listening today? I think for this question, I also want to hear from Nifemi, then Mimi as well on this. Then we take questions from the audience.
I think Mimi can start, then I'll just. But it's hard because she's already a brand manager, so I don't know if she's advising my colleagues.
Okay.
Okay, so I think I mentioned it in passing earlier when I was saying we can start with the simple things, right? If it's a smaller brand, if it's a smaller business, just to track, put certain time aside to track or to monitor, and then like not to monitor, we said not social monitoring, to track or to listening or to find out what's happening, right? If we have the chance, we can set up Google Alerts. We can set up, even I think on X, you can also set up alerts to see what people are saying, about your brand and things like that. If you have the bandwidth, if you have the resources, you can also, get into a few tools that are available. There are many tools available. Just do some research online, find the one that works for your brand within the budget, within the that appeals to what you're looking for. There are many AI tools available. I think that's the easiest way to get into it. But then, like Nifemi had mentioned, you must have a strategy of some sort, not just to listen. Why are you listening? What are you listening for? And then also, in the event that you see good or bad news, what do you want to do with that, right? Are you if you see bad reviews about your brand, do you have a crisis response strategy? What's your strategy for that? How are you going to address it? Just so that you're not listening for listening's sake, and then a problem comes and then you're caught unawares, right? There should be a strategy that you have in place or a backup plan that you have in place while you're also doing this business. So I think, like I said, the first step is a simple step. On your own, go to Reddit, go to TikTok, go to YouTube, whatever the case may be. Read the comments. What are people saying? Are they tagging you? Are they not tagging you? Are they tagging your competition? Why are they tagging your competition? That's it. Simple, or the simplest step to start social listening on your own.
Okay, so I'd also just say this, that so the thing behind social listening is, I always say it, is asking questions. Is there a reason behind this behavior? Could there be more? And I think, like, for me, for the first thing, it's like a mindset shift. Brand managers are ridiculously busy, so they don't have time to actually do some of these things that we ask them to do. And so it's easier to have a mindset to say, because if you think about a typical brand manager in Nigeria, it's 12 problems at once. They're looking at their hectoliters, they're looking at the sales volume, they're looking at their agencies, looking at the distribution partners, looking at distribution routes. One truck driver decided not to deliver their products. It's crazy. I'm laughing because I feel like I'm listing at problems. But I think the first thing that I would say is just have the mindset towards asking more questions as to why things are happening. So if you go on socials, for example, and you see conversations being talked about, the goal is not necessarily to just jump on it, because those are just data points that you are pulling out already. The goal is to say, okay, I can see that 25 to 45-year-old men are speaking about this brand more. Why? And then that's when you begin to bring out more things to say, okay, is it because the bottle is purple? Is it because the bottle is black? Or is it because the bottle gives them a sense of pride? Oh, is it because the ad we put out? Like, you are asking those questions more to be able to pull out more from the things that you find. Another way that you can do it is, another advice that I can give brand managers is, I think that even before you go into searching for things online, know what you are going to search for. What I mean, because even before we start social listening, for example, for brands that we work with, we have to have your queries. Like, what are the things that matter to you from head to toe? Those things can change per time, and they should. But as of today that we want to start this work, what are the things that matter to you? So, because you have to have a filtration process, because social media is I'm thinking about it, I'm doing it on a regular way. You're just going to X or Instagram. You have to say, okay, I can see that. I'm sorry, I'm saying action does a lot, not because we work with them, but because they're the last people that I've seen on my alert. So you scroll and you see action bitters has done. It's like, it doesn't matter. It's not, I don't care so much about what they are doing, because you kind of already have a broad spectrum about these things that matter to me, and what you're scrolling through, you're helping yourself to find. And so those two things, in addition to what Mia said, will be helpful in terms of, firstly, have the mindset to ask more questions about them. Don't just take every data point as the problem. Like, yes, you are seeing that 24 to 45 people are in the last 4 days engaging, but maybe they all took leave. Like, it might be nothing. And if you don't ask the question, you just say, we have a new audience space, and you go and create product for them and they will not buy. And you just realize that because you didn't ask more questions. So it's a mindset thing. And the second thing is, always kind of ask yourself part time, what really matters to my brand? Like, what are the things that I would see? Because then you can now build more sub context, more sub things on those things. But you have to have that first layer that helps you to filter through all of the information that you are seeing per time.